Well, hello everybody, and welcome and thanks for coming. I want to kick off by saying thanks to Red Hat for hosting us this evening in this fantastic innovation centre, I think it's called, the official name for it. Thanks in particular to Jeremy for organising all of this and tolerating us being here and spilling our pizza and beer all over the place, all that kind of thing. I'd also like to say thanks to Peter, who's filming us this evening, and thanks to my Energized work colleagues who've been grafting away making this happen. A quick introduction. I think most of you probably know me, but just for the one or two in the room that don't, I'm Tom Akehurst. I'm the originator of an open source tool called WireMock, which is a service virtualization or API mocking tool, depending on which community you come from. I'm also the tech founder of a product called Mott Lab, which is hosted API mocking. We launched a few weeks ago, and it's available on a 14-day trial. So I suggest you check it out if you haven't already. Failing that, Patrick, where's Patrick? Is he in the room? No, he's wandered off. Okay. Not Patrick then. I can give you a demo at some point in the evening if you're interested. I suspect also most of the people in the room have a rough idea what service virtualization is, or API mocking. In case there are one or two that don't, I want to give a very sort of quick overview, just so that we're all roughly on the same page about what we mean. I hate the term service virtualization. I spent years thinking it meant kind of copying your servers into a VMware image or something like that. And I don't think it's a particularly descriptive term, but it's the one that I think Gartner have given us, so we're stuck with it. But essentially the idea is that it's about simulating the interfaces that your application depends on during testing. So decoupling yourself from real dependencies so that you can test more quickly or more effectively or whatever. I guess any of you who've done test-driven development, use mocking, that sort of thing, will probably see the analogy, and hence the fact I'm sort of using the term service virtualization and API mocking somewhat interchangeably, because I think conceptually they're essentially the same thing. It's just the terminology you use probably depends on whether you come from a kind of big banking environment or whether you've come up through the sort of agile community. I think as a technique, service virtualization or API mocking can be transformative to the performance of a software team. I think increasingly we're working in sort of distributed software environments. There are lots of components communicating over the network via APIs. We've got sort of microservices and IoT and mobile driving this, and I think the need to decouple components and test them separately. And to be able to do that sort of thoroughly and on a continuous basis is kind of essential to being able to to deliver software at any reasonable kind of pace and to a reasonable level of quality. And particularly if we want to deliver good customer experiences, things which are fast and highly available, then we really need to be testing edge and failure cases and so on like that in a way that old-fashioned end-to-end testing doesn't readily avail us of. I think it's probably an underused technique at the moment as well. I think it's fair to say there are a lot of people who are sort of completely ignorant of this as an option for testing their systems. And I guess part of that is that although there's the sort of the kind of old world, big expensive vendor tools that have been around in the service virtualization space for the best part of a decade, I guess. I think they've tended to sort of exist in the SOA world and in big sort of well-funded organisations, and maybe the ideas haven't until fairly recently kind of trickled down to to people in other sectors. So there's kind of an emerging set of tools now. I think some of them open source and some commercial that are sort of more modern in nature and tend to fit better with kind of agile development practices and play more nicely with other tools and not try to sort of lock you in quite so much to to a particular ecosystem and so on like that. And maybe part of the problem is that these tools are only just starting to kind of reach a level of maturity where they can be used without lots of effort and understanding. On that note, we have a number of people in the room who are tool vendors of sort of various kinds, I suppose, in this space. So obviously I created WireMock a few years ago. Wojciech, who's going to be speaking second, is the tech founder of Traffic Parrot, which is an SV tool built on top of WireMock. We have Benji Hooper in the room, who is works for Spectre Labs, and they also build an open source tool called Hoverfly. And Hugh has worked in various guises in this area, I think most recently at Computer Associates, who I think still have by far the biggest, by spend market share in this thing. So they're still very much the kind of heavyweight in this space. What did I want to say next? So this evening's a little bit of an experiment. I mean, even by sort of London tech community standards, I think this is a fairly niche topic to get a load of people around. It might be that it turns out to be far too boring, for us to ever want to get together and do it again. But you never know. On the other hand, we might have some interesting conversations, and it might be worth doing again at some point in the future. I mean, I kind of think because of the underused nature of this tools in this space, it would benefit all, certainly those of us that are tool vendors in the room, to figure out ways we can kind of collectively consciousness raise, getting more people doing this stuff, I think would probably be a net positive for teams delivering software. So I'm hoping that will be an outcome that those, we all get to think about that a little bit. So just to give a quick agenda overview, I guess you've probably all seen it on the website anyway, but just in case you haven't, we're having a talk from Hugh first of all after me, and as I said, Hugh has built and sold a number of companies in the sort of testing tool space, most recently to CA. Is now building I don't know, I'm going to allow you to describe in more detail when you get on what your new product is, because I probably won't do it justice if I try and summarise it here. But anyway, he has lots of experience in the testing tool space, and is going to be talking about testing APIs and in a DevOps context. Is that a fair summary? After that, we're going to hear from Wojtek, who, as I say, is the founder of Traffic Parrot, and he's going to be talking about mocking messaging systems with JMS. And then we're going to have a panel consisting of our two speakers, plus Dave Sire from Pivotal, who works on Spring Cloud, is the originator of a number of the Spring Cloud projects, and also works on Spring Cloud Contract, which uses WireMock in sort of interesting and novel ways. So Dave is kind of here as a sort of expert user of these techniques, kind of on the representing the other side of the sort of vendor user equation, I guess. And also we have Benji, as I mentioned before, who's from Spectre Labs, who also has experience building and publicising and educating people about these tools. So hopefully that'll be interesting. With that, I'll hand over briefly to Jeremy, who's going to say a few words.
Welcome. I guess it's my job, just as your host, to say, thank you all for coming to this facility. This facility represents Red Hat's Open Innovation Labs, and actually what this is nothing to do with the facility. This is about Red Hat open sourcing our DNA. What we do in here is help our customers adopt open organizational principles that are the bedrock of open source and open source communities. And we do that with our customers coming in here out of their day-to-day, and they spend between 4 and 12 weeks with us writing software and learning how to work in a different way, and then they go back and hopefully get changed. So we love hosting meetups, and we're really pleased to have you guys here. If there's any other meetups that want to use this space, you're also really, really welcome. But that's it. Thank you all for coming and for using our space. You're really welcome.